Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another FB Live training for Fire Your Inner Critic, Find Your Inner Badass, and finally build your business. It is dark 30 in the morning. I'm so glad I even remembered what the name of the FB group is, because honestly, I woke up at 3:15 and did hair and makeup for once in my life at 3:15, and I'm glad I remembered the name of the Facebook group. So welcome, Cassandra Von Worsley. If you're watching this on YouTube, just know that you can join us in this private, amazing Facebook community at facebook.com/groups/Fire Your Inner Critic. So you just click join, find us. We are doing amazing stuff in this group. So good morning. I'm talking about 5 ways that your inner critic impacts your business. So we talked in episode number 1 about the fact that your inner critic is a part of your internal family system. So we don't want to demonize the inner critic. We don't want to make it this thing that is horrible, that you have to get rid of, that is your enemy. It's actually... It can be a powerful mentor. It can be a teacher. It can be a guide along your journey to finally building the business that you want. And this is not a training that's just for somebody who is thinking about starting a business, although this is a great training for you. It is also for the person who has started a business, who is growing a business, but who does not know what is the missing link to taking my business to the next level. You know, lots of us begin businesses and we know there's going to be hard work, and we know that it's going to be rough. We know that we're going to have to do a lot of sales, a lot of marketing, but it's almost as if you get to a certain point and you start to get clients, customers, you start to sell things, and then you sort of hit this wall. And the wall is... You just can't figure out what the wall is. You've got a good group of base clients. They like what you do. They know the value of what you offer, but you just can't seem to get from one level to the next, and you don't know why. Is it my marketing? Is it my website? Is it, am I doing enough? This whole am I doing enough is almost a sign to the inner critic to start chiming in. No, you're not. No, you're not doing enough. You're not. So I want to talk today about 5 ways that the inner critic impacts your business, because sometimes when we think our business issue to grow is really about our website, I can't tell you the number of people who tell me it's my website. I don't have a good website and I need to wait. Other people think, well, I'm not networking enough. So then they go to every conference you can imagine. They spend tons of money that they don't have to spend, and then they're still not making more money. It has nothing to do with that. So let's talk for a little bit today about 5 ways that your inner critic impacts your business. Number 1, the approach you take to your business. So one thing I want you to ask yourself today is, am I playing small or am I playing big in my business? Meaning, if I was already at the financial place, the annual revenue, the monthly revenue that I want to be in my business, what action would I be taking today? And am I actually taking actions consistent with that revenue point that I want to get to in my business? Or am I taking actions that are still on the, I'm just starting a business, I'm just starting out, playing small level? So your inner critic will actually keep you playing small when you need to be going big in your business. If you haven't even started a business, the inner critic will keep you thinking of the business you want to start in small ways rather than having a very big vision. And we're going to talk in another training about why it's so important when you are thinking about starting a business to have a massively big vision before you even start the business. So first thing, the inner critic impacts the approach you take in your business. Second way that the inner critic impacts your business, it impacts the level of action you take on a daily basis in your business and the kinds of action that you take. So it's not even the, do I do a lot? A lot of people are focused on busy. I'm focused on revolutionary. So is even the smallest act you take in your business, is it another thing on your to-do list? Is it another thing that you go, okay, I've got this and this and this and this and this, and you're just going through the motions and you feel good at the end of the day because you got 15 things done instead of 2? Or is the thing you're working on in your business revolutionary? Is it game changing? You know what? Sometimes the most revolutionary act I take in my business is to have an hour-long call with somebody who needs me in my business. That's revolutionary. And yet to people who are focused on busy, they're like, well, you got one thing done today. Yeah, but that one thing was everything. So it impacts the level of action you take in your business. The third way that your inner critic impacts your business is it impacts your level of consistency, the consistency with which you take action. You know, do you really grind in your business? Are you prepared to really grind? Are you consistently taking daily massive action day in and day out? Your inner critic, if you listen to it, if you haven't transformed it into the part of you that is your powerful mentor, it will on some days cripple you. It will on other days make you rebel, so it'll bring out that rebel part of you, and then you'll take action to rebel against it. And then on other days, you'll just ignore it, like shut the hell up and go sit down, and then you'll just do your thing anyway. But you notice, because you respond differently to the inner critic on different days, it impacts the consistency of the quality and quantity of action you take over the weeks, over the months. So it impacts your consistency. Fourth way that the inner critic impacts your business is it impacts the way that you view selling. Whether you see selling as something that is positive or negative, as something that is pushy or as service. You know, I always tell people selling is service and marketing is education. Selling is service and marketing is education. There are people who don't even know you, who desperately need what you have to offer. They desperately need to read your blog. They desperately need to have you as their private teacher. They desperately need to be in your classes. And they don't even know. They have no idea. So how are you going to open their eyes to the fact that they've been waiting all this time for you if you don't see selling as service and marketing as education? You're not. So really, the inner critic tries to convince you that selling is sleazy, that you feel like a used car salesman, that nobody's going to buy from you, that marketing is a waste of time, that everything you're doing with Facebook ads or whatever just sucks. Maybe Facebook ads isn't your marketing tool of choice, but you've got to see it in a positive way in order for you to do the work of finding the marketing tool that is going to work for you. So that's the fourth way. The fifth way that your inner critic impacts your business is this. It impacts your ability, and this is huge. It impacts your ability to close the deal. It impacts your ability to overcome objections with people. Just because I say you have a tribe and you have a tribe that needs you and is going to listen to you does not mean that I'm saying that you're not going to people are not going to come at you with objections. People are going to have all sorts of objections. They're going to tell you they don't have enough money. They're going to tell you they don't have enough time. They're going to tell you that, you know, they have to ask their husband or their wife first, right? Which, you know how that works. Anyway, they're going to give you these objections about time, about money, and about other people they've got to get to co-sign on them doing what's best for them. And here's the thing. Doesn't matter if it's true or not. But your inner critic is going to impact your ability to overcome objections and to close the deal. Here's the thing I'm going to say about finding your inner badass. Your inner badass is amazing at overcoming objections. Your inner badass is phenomenal at closing the deal. But you are not going to tap into your inner badass and start to see selling as service and marketing as education until you transform that inner critic into a powerful mentor. And your inner critic right now, if it's sitting there chirping in your ear telling you, how are you going to do this? You can't do this. How are you going to sell? You don't even know how to sell. You've never sold anything before. How are you going to build a business? You don't even know the first thing. If your inner critic is still in the negative mode of serving you, then your inner critic is going to impact your business in this way. It's going to negatively affect your ability to be consistent, your ability to play big, your ability to focus on selling as service and marketing as education. It is going to impact your ability to say, I have a purpose in this business. It's meant for me. It's my calling. People need me. It's going to affect your ability to wake up every day and know that that's true. And so what do you do if you find that one of these 5 ways that the inner critic is impacting your business, is really affecting you, you figure out the biggest one. I don't want you to tackle all 5 of these. You look and say, okay, is my inner critic impacting the approach that I'm taking in my business? Like me playing small or me playing big? Is the inner critic affecting the level of action that I take in my business? Am I 10xing my action every day? Or do I have some days where the inner critic is so loud that I can barely send an email out? Is the inner critic impacting the consistency of my action? Do I have great days and low days, and then some days where the inner critic is just beating me up inside? Is the inner critic affecting whether I see selling as positive or negative, whether I see it as service and marketing as education? Is it impacting my ability to overcome objections and close the deal? Figure out which of those 5 is the biggest one where the inner critic is negatively affecting you, and focus on that one first. And we're going to talk more about how do we transform the inner critic to the powerful mentor. But pick one of these 5 and really hone in on reflecting, thinking about, and reframing. You got to do a positive reframe of this. Turn that on its head. Whatever the inner critic is telling you about one of these 5 ways that it's impacting your business, flip it to the positive immediately. And every time the inner critic chirps about that thing, flip it to the positive and remind yourself, I get to choose what I believe is true for me. Every time. I get to choose what I believe is true for me. Every time. Your beliefs are your choice. Every day, every moment. That's where you start with this. All right, if you're watching on YouTube, join the group, Fire Your Inner Critic, Find Your Inner Badass, and finally build your business on Facebook. I'm so glad I remembered that at 4 o'clock in the morning. Facebook.com/groups/Fire Your Inner Critic, and I will see you guys on the next FB Live training.